that is the sound of a naturally aspirated V8 in a mid-size sedan from Lexus, which is the only luxury brand now out of Germany/Japan that is doing a V8 in a car this size anymore. This is the Lexus IS500 F Sport Performance, and it is a ball to drive, and mostly because of that naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 up front, which makes this car incredibly unique compared to its competitors. And you know what? I kind of like it. You're watching God Next. Now let's talk about the powertrain real quick under the hood of the IS500. And with the 500 in the IS's name, you're going to know that this uses a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8. Good for Lexus for having nomenclature for their models that actually makes sense, because this one does. And this naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 makes 472 horsepower and 395 pound-feet of torque. I wish it made a little more torque. It doesn't feel like it makes a lot of torque when you're actually driving it. Definitely apparent that that torque figure is low. It is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Unfortunately, it is not the ZF 8-speed. What world would we live in if Toyota and Lexus was using the ZF 8-speed? But yeah, it's the same one that they just started using in the Toyota Camry. No surprise there, because it's built off this platform. But yeah, it's good. It sounds great. And I'm happy that Lexus is still putting a naturally aspirated V8 in their midsize sedans. Now on the exterior of the IS500 F Sport Performance, that is a long name. It's a good looking car. I think Lexus has done a really good job at capturing the futuristic look, which they've been able to do for quite a long time. I've always thought their cars look more 21st century than other competitors out there, until Mercedes and BMW and Audi updated their cars. But now they all look futuristic. This one still looks good. You have the LED headlights that lead up into its grille, which I will say is massive. I never want to hear anyone else complain about another grille in their life, because this one has got to be the largest on something that's the size of something like a C-Series and A4. This is pretty big, the Lexus badge. It does look good though. Lexus has done it right. And all the body lines kind of lead into this grille, which makes it have this kind of like pointy nose, which I think looks cool. You have these 19-inch rims. They are in this matte black color, and the black brake calipers up front. Those are 4-piston brakes. Of course, you have the F Sport badge on the side, and on the side you also have these gloss black side skirts as well. The exterior is in this metallic color called Cloudburst Gray. I think it looks good on this car, and it complements the black accents as well. You also have this chrome piece on the mirror right here, and they are pretty cool looking as well. But yeah, overall, for being a 3 Series A4 C-Class competitor, I think it looks really good. I actually think it's the best looking one in its class, but let's head to the back and see how the rear looks. Now on the back of the IS500 F Sport Performance, you have this little spoiler right here, which does feel a little tacky and not kind of out of place. But you also have this light bar that spans the entire rear of the car. And as you can see, quad exhaust tips that lead back to that 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like. And on top of that, we'll talk about some cargo space as well, of course, because a lot of you will want to drive this around and carry a bunch of stuff. It has 10.8 cubic feet of cargo space in the rear trunk. I wish it was automatically closing, automatic opening, but it's not. And when you're spending $60,000 starting on a car, I think that's something that you should definitely get. Let's hop inside and check out the Lexus magic. On the interior of the Lexus IS500, let's start with some things that I like before I go into things that I don't like. And yes, even though it is a Lexus, of course, there are things that you're not going to like about this car. Things I like, I love the two-tone color of this interior. I love the white seats, the white leather on the center console and on the armrest on the door panel. And I like the black contrast that they've done here. I love the gauge cluster, just like the LFA has, which started this trend in Lexus's, is the moving tachometer in the center that moved to the side. If you want to bring up a list like your media, fuel economy, things like that, your gauge cluster will move over to the side if you press the list button, which is nice and cool. Steering wheel is nice and bulky as well. And overall, it's just a really, really comfortable interior. Heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. You do have adaptive cruise control, surround view systems, and everything like that to make sure that you are not going to run into anything. And the Mark Levinson sound system is decent. I would say Harman Kardon still has a better sound stage, along with Bang & Olufsen. and Burmester, but Mark Levinson is not a bad one to have at all. Now, some things I don't like about this interior is that a lot of the plastics they use in here, or the fake leathers like on top of the door panel, across some parts of the dash, and the plastic covering the glove box lid and all the buttons and stuff, feels really, really cheap and like it's straight out of a Camry. And I have a problem with that because this car starts at $60,000, which is nearly double what a Camry starts for, and it feels very Camry-y in here. The switches for the windows and the cruise control stock and all that stuff is straight out of a Camry, and you don't see other brands doing that. Volkswagen and Audi kind of have that kind of problem as well, but Audi does a really good job at separating themselves from Volkswagen, and they make the car feel like it's its own thing. Lexus hasn't impressed me with that. Here it's like they took the steering wheel straight out of a Camry and slapped the Lexus badge and an F Sport badge on it and said, hey, this will appease everyone. Something else I'm not a big fan of is the infotainment system. Every car reviewer out there says the same thing about this infotainment system. It is crap. The touchscreen part of it is very laggy. It's not very responsive, and it's really hard to do it when you're sitting back in your seat like I am right now. I can't even, with staying sat back, I can't even reach the infotainment screen. And that would be okay if they use something like, you know, Audi or BMW does, and they would use the little wheel to be able to navigate it. But no, they have this really, really complicated and flimsy trackpad that is really hard to navigate at times, can be laggy. They have menu buttons and everything like that, but it really just isn't acceptable in 2023 to have an infotainment system that is this unergonomic to use at all. I'm not bothered by the buttons around the climate control and stuff like that. That doesn't really bother me. The plastics there don't bother me. The buttons feel heavy. They don't feel like cheap plastic. But overall, it's a hate it or love it interior. I just wish Lexus would focus a little more on top of, you know, being reliable and everything like that and making the exterior of their cars look good. I wish they would make the interior of their cars feel the same way. Yeah, I'm not looking for LC500 quality of interior, but I'm definitely looking for something that doesn't feel like it belongs in 2015, because that's the way I feel about this interior. All right, driving the IS500. And it makes a healthy amount of power, and I'm really happy to see a V8 that's naturally aspirated under the hood of a sedan the size of a 3 Series or any car in that class. It makes me really happy to see an engine like this in a mid-size sedan. Very, very happy with it. And you know what? It's pretty quick. 0 to 60 in the low 4-second range, which is acceptable for a car like this. It's not trying to be something like an M3 competitor. It's not trying to be an RS5 competitor. It's trying to be a mid-size sedan that does a decent speed and sounds really good at the same time. And it does sound good. There are some gripes. Of course, the transmission is not the quickest. They upgraded to an 8-speed automatic now. That doesn't mean it's the ZF 8-speed, and it's not as quick as that. Downshifts are slow, upshifts are slow, even in the sportiest driving mode, and I'm in Sport Plus right now. And it honestly doesn't even feel like it. Though, when it does get up there, it is pretty quick. And it sounds good. That is what I love about it. It sounds just incredible. Now, some other gripes. BMW got rid of this in 2018 or 19, and I thought we had put this part of the automotive history behind us, but apparently not. Lexus has decided that instead of using a normal turn signal, they're going to take a page out of 2015 BMW's book, and they're going to do the turn signal where if you press it, it just goes back to the center, so it's impossible to tell if it's on or not if you're not really paying attention to your gauge cluster where your turn signal is. And that drives me nuts. I absolutely hate these turn signals. They're god-awful. And Lexus, I have zero clue why, of all brands, you decided to go with that instead of a normal turn signal. What world are we living in where Lexus makes a bad decision like that? But the benefits are, like I said, it sounds good, it's quick, and the gas mileage isn't all that bad. You know, I think right now with the gas mileage, we are getting, hold on now, I gotta navigate through this really not so good infotainment system in the gauge cluster. Hold on, 18.4 miles per gallon in a V8. It's not great, but it's normal for a V8. It's not like it's sucking back fuel at all. So, I think the powertrain is a win. The interior is not so much, and the driving experience is okay. That's what I think about the IS500. Now, Lexus has a devout group of buyers and followers and lovers and everything like that. That's the problem, is that if you go from a German car to an IS500, you're probably not going to be that impressed because they focus on very different things. Japan and cars out of Japan focus a lot on making the car work. For every situation, every person that's going to own it, the car is going to be functional, it's going to work, and it's still going to be nice at the same time. Versus Germany is trying to be on the cutting edge. And that works for the Lexus followers. It doesn't work for people who want to try Lexus out as a brand. And I think that is the problem, is that even though this car looks cool and it's got a great powertrain and it's quick and it's cool, I don't think it's cool enough to persuade people to come to the brand from Audi, BMW, and Mercedes, because even though those cars can't get a V8 in their A4, the 330i, and the C300, they might not be able to get a V8. But what they get is cutting-edge technology in a car that feels all more cocooned, in a car that is the same price, that just has a better standing in the luxury car scene. This one doesn't have that kind of presence and that kind of reputation, and I feel like that is where Lexus falls short with the IS500. The V8's awesome, but it's not enough to persuade the people in the other brands to switch over and get one of these. If you guys like the video, make sure you hit the like button down below, and if you want to see more from us, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video.